And welcome in, everybody. Apologies for the wait. Had a little draft issues to figure out, but everything has been settled and we are underway. I am Thousand Eyes. I am joined by only myself. I am running everything tonight, so be nice to me, or I might just turn off the stream. Meanwhile, we have gotten underway in the draft here. We have Mythic Esports on the blue side, Elysium Dawn on the red, already out the gate, looking at a couple of pocket pick bands here with the Jace and the Draven taken off the board. Ezreal and seemingly Maokai next here. Probably sensible here. Maokai has been a very prevalent pick. He did get nerfed in the most recent patch. However, he has still been seen as a solid jungler, and it's also just a level of comfort. He's a solid tanky, magey style of jungler that you can pick up and run with. So makes sense to take that off the board. The Rel also taken off the board as well. If you have not been paying attention to the meta as of late, Rel has just put herself on the top of the ladder as far as supports go. She is far and away one of the best supports you can pick up, especially if you're looking for engage. So that one will not be playable in game number 1 alongside the Tristana, which has been a very solid flex pick for a lot of teams. You could take that mid lane, you could take it bot lane. Does very well against a lot of these early mages that don't have the capability to fight back. Talia is going to be the first lock in here for Mythic, which does give me the indication that we are going to be seeing a Talia, I believe, in the mid lane. Okay. Yeah, that should be a mid lane Talia. Has flex capability in the jungle, but based off of play rates and things like that, I would expect that to be a mid lane Talia, which does have that roam potential, has that capability. And it's actually kind of surprising, seeing that Tristana taken off the board just gave that safety for a first pick Talia, which is not generally what you would end up seeing. There's a lot of stuff that is still up there if you would like to get it. Obviously, things like the why am I blanking right now? The Xayah, the I know some people are still really favoring Kaisa, even though she has been slightly nerfed on the most recent patch. However, it is going to be Talia locked in for Mythic and Elysium. They're going to react here with a Xerath and a Sejuani. Now, Xerath has been seeing a little bit of pro play, giving some capability to kind of put it in that mid lane and just push waves. Just push waves. You can't get to him, and he will survive just fine. Had a couple of buffs, I think, that got him a little bit looked at for pro play potential and has seen a couple of picks here and there. The Trundle response to the Sejuani seems to be what we're going to get for Mythic, which is the known counter pick for the Sejuani. Obviously, if you dive in, you get an Aftershock alongside your passive, and Trundle ults you, you lose all resistances. Trundle takes all of them, your passive and your Aftershock fall off. You can actually go into negative armor and MR, which can hurt you really, really bad in team fights. So Elysium Dawn need to be aware of this going into team fights and play around the capability for a Trundle ult to ruin their day. Soraka going to be our next pick for the support here. Obviously, no real flexibility on that one, and have not seen a lot of Soraka in the last couple of weeks. So that one will be an interesting one to keep an eye on, especially because we do not have knowledge on what the AD carry to pair with it is going to be. So, with our final lock in here, looks like the Kaisa for Elysium is what's going to be picked up. And if you have not been paying attention, Kaisa, just obviously a very, very strong, capable AD carry that has been around for a while. Did get hit by a couple of nerfs to her AP build, which has been all over the place. It makes a lot of sense to try and nerf that a little bit. However, it still is very strong. There are other builds as well that basically weren't touched, and Kaisa still has capability to be very, very powerful. We still don't have confirmation what Elysium support's going to be, so you pair that with something like a Nautilus, something that has some level of hard engage, and Elysium Dawn can be really, really set to go. So we are going to get into our second ban phase here. Going to be seeing Xayah taken off. Has been one of the responses to Kai'Sa, just in terms of being able to stay alive where Kai'Sa can dive in. Obviously, with a Kai'Sa, you would tend to favor a little bit more of aggression, but the Xayah is not going to be available, as well as it looks like Sivir could be taken away as well, which seems to be a little bit targeted towards Mythic Gumayusi. Man, people are gonna start to think that I can't just say Gumayusi and have everybody be like on me about that. God, sometimes the names. As we are gonna also see Mythic take away the Thresh, a strong overall support, as well as just a good engage capability there for the Kai'Sa. So Mythic not going to have access to that. The Jax also taken away from Nick Laws, who has been playing a bit of that as well. The next one on the docket there would be the Aatrox if they are going to get it, but seems like Elysium want to get that counter pick for their top laner, which would make a lot of sense. Leona is the hover at the moment, and that will be locked in. As we said, really love to see the hard engage there with the Kai'Sa. Mythic still looking for an 80 carry as well as a top laner here. Renekton could be the blind pick, has been very, very strong as a blind pick because there are not a lot of champions that can go toe-to-toe with him early on. And if you are looking for a just standard lane-winning top laner, Renekton is not a bad lock-in, and that will be the lock-in for Mythic. So we are going to be waiting for an 80 carry, assuming that that is what they are going to be picking here. Now, with the Xayah and the Kai'Sa off the board, we take a look at what is available. Obviously, you still have the opportunity to go for something like a Ziggs. It would make you very AP heavy if you also, again, mages have been very good this patch. So it's not unheard of. Neela seems like what we're going to get, which is technically not an 80 carry if you want to go by technicalities, because she is a melee character by definition. But this is interesting because Neela's passive is just so weird because it seems like it favors enchanters, despite the fact that I think Neela really wants somebody who could just go in, right? And you're not going to get that. Obviously, Soraka is going to heal Neela, get some of that heal back, and be a-okay, as we do see that Aatrox lock in for Elysium, which is the next in line for Nick Laws. But Neela has not seen a lot of play at all. She kind of got released and then kind of started falling off, and then eventually was kind of just irrelevant. She has been seeing just a little bit of interaction with some teams and players just for the fact that she has the capability to just go all in. And it's just been alongside a lot of the 80 carries that are not Kai'Sa or Xayah being not the greatest feeling. So we are going to get into our actual champ select here. We'll make sure everything does get locked in that we expect. So just looking at this from a lane by lane perspective here, we go up to the top side and we have the Renekton and the Aatrox, who are just going to be beating the crap out of each other all lane. There should be enough healing that there is not a huge worry of death. If I would expect something, it would be the Renekton taking out the Aatrox early on. Or Aatrox team fighting is just known to be crazy good if you can hit those sweet spots. So that's gonna be the game plan here, I think, for Elysium, is just make sure Aatrox gets out of that lane in a decent spot and let Renekton start to fall off. Looking at our mid lane, we do have that Xerath versus Taliyah. That's farming. That right there is just farming, and then Taliyah's gonna look to roam at level 6. There's not really a whole lot else to go with. Xerath can answer the roam with an ultimate for a little bit of help, but you're probably not seeing a lot of interaction in that lane. But bot lane is, I think, the most interesting of these lanes here, because you have the standard, which is Kaisa and an engaged support, this time it is the Leona for some extra damage. But you're going up against something that is not only unorthodox, but I would argue that these players don't have experience playing against. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But I don't think a lot of people are used to playing against Neela, especially a Neela with a Soraka. So the question then becomes, can you kill Neela in time before Soraka healing starts to really take effect? And I don't know the answer because I have not played against Neela in probably a year. So I could not give you a straight up answer on what the capabilities of that bot lane pairing is going to be. Obviously, late game, Neil is going to have a lot of healing in her kit already, as well as Soraka pumping her up. So it will become very difficult for these skirmishy team fights to happen in the later portions of the game. Mythic, as a whole, just have really solid skirmish potential. Obviously we talked about Neela. Renekton is known for being really great at that. Trundle as well. And then Talia to just pop in whenever needed there can just kind of show up whenever you call her down with that ultimate. Meanwhile, Elysium definitely looking like a little bit more of a standard team composition. You have your front lines, you have the bruiser to be an in-between, and then your carries in the back here. The one difference being that Kaisa can just get into the thick of things. So if a fight starts going well for Elysium, Kaisa can finish it off pretty strongly here, especially if that Soraka is caught out. I think also the big thing, again, that I'm just going to be watching here is the Trundle Sejuani interaction. If you know how to play against that, it is horrible for a Sejuani to try and team fight because you just always go in very, very squishy, very unable to help out your team in frontline. And with that frontline down, the only other frontline that you have is a tank support, which is not going to be as tanky. So Elysium probably gonna just try and counter out this skirmishing, see if they can get their cooldowns on the right side here. But we're gonna take a quick break here as we get ready for game number 1, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna be right back just after this. And welcome back, everybody. We are getting into our first game of the night here. Once again, Mythic on the blue side and Elysium on the red. Looks like teams are fanning out for our general 5-point start here. Taking a look at our runes. Nothing super crazy out here. We do have Base Rush on Susurration on that Sejuani, which is definitely preferred over the Aftershock in this specific matchup here. You're avoiding that extra suck-upable defenses for this Trundle. And then Greg also on that Trundle running the Lethal Tempo. There's a couple of different ones you can run here. There is the PTA, there is Lethal Tempo. Lethal Tempo is generally seen as more of a carry-capable style of play. We're also seeing the Summoner Spellbook here on the Talia, which is fairly interesting. I don't know Talia runes terribly well. Talia definitely seems like one that can run that, although I do think that Comet and First Strike are also played with a decent frequency here. Things will get underway. Both junglers starting on that red side, and Susurration also starting without a leash, so not giving away that extra little bit of info here. Sejuani has capability to come up and make things terrible. Meanwhile, Trundle also just going to be clearing out. Trundle has really strong level 3 gank capability. There is just a long time where Trundle was seen as kind of a, you take 3 camps and you go in. Speaking of going in, though, Waffle getting the level 2 going in onto the Soraka, who has to flash out Ignite on. So VXH will stay alive here. We'll be able to heal up if those Qs hit, but it's always a rough game when you get a low Soraka, because you're playing with your life here. The lower you get, the harder it is to hit Qs, but the more that you need them here. It's also interesting to see as well the Soraka running the Spell Thieves. A lot of times in these kinds of matchups, you may want to go for the Relic Shield, which has, you know, the ability to just, you get money without having to risk yourself to auto attack or hit abilities. Regardless, Soraka will be getting her health back up. Both of those pots now used, so it is just Q healing from here on out. Flash W Ignite here onto Nicholas, who's just going to get taken out for first blood, but Tentator also goes down as well. And the wave was not crashing, so this is really not... It's not great for Nicholas, but it's not as bad as it could have possibly been. The TP's also going to be used, so Nicholas is actually going to get an experience advantage off of this play, which could be pretty huge here. Also looking at a gank in the mid lane as Greg is going to show up. Burger King having to back away, does not get hit by the Talia W, which is so crucial, but it doesn't matter as Greg's just going to go for the chomp. You can't dodge that one, and will go down a kill over to Greg. Susurration also in the vicinity of this bot lane here. Remember, no flash or heal on this Soraka. And now Waffle's just going to go in. VXH went so deep in. The extra dodge there from Gumayushi is going to make sure this Soraka gets out alive. And what should have been a death in almost any other scenario, the dodge on the Leona Q was super important there. That also does give information of where this Sejuani is. So now Trundle knows he could go for another gank on this top side here. Sniglaw's gonna have to flash away. Truck's not having the greatest time in this top side. We do check in and see Burger King taking a nice heaping helping of icicles. I believe they're icicles in this skin. I don't think it's right to call them rocks. But yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of damage there. Philly is gonna get the knockback. The E hits, but there's not enough damage. Burger King's just so low, but I don't think they could get to him. And he has to back up. Meanwhile, topside, we're seeing some more fighting happening. Is again, this Renekton, very scary to go toe-to-toe with. Waffle and Susurration show up just to make sure that Burger King can stay alive. Feel doing a great job so far in this mid lane, forcing back the Xerath of all things. I did not expect there to be much of any fighting in this mid lane, and this Taliyah has done a very good job of not only fighting, but keeping the wave up as well. See, forcing the teleport from Burger King, who then now just has to sit here and catch this. Feel gets to back. Doesn't have a teleport to match, but I don't think is going to need it here. Things slowing down just a little bit here as level 6 is starting to hit on these solo laners. Nicklal's, again, with that experience lead that we talked about, hits the level 6 first, as Teditor may not want to go in on this one just yet. Level 6, this Renekton does have a different story, though, as that will get hit just now. Take a look at farm here. Mid and top winning pretty heavily for Mythic at the moment. There does not seem to be any indication that that's going to be changing anytime in the near future. So I would expect this Renekton to continue to bully out this Aatrox for the time being. And just based off of the control that Feel has been putting out against this Xerath, I don't think Taliyah is going to be missing out on much yet either. We do see a little bit of jostling around the Dragon Pit area. BXH just going to throw down a little bit of poke here. And as Greg starts to move down here, there's a level 6 on this Sejuani and not on this Trundle. If a fight starts to break out, and Greg seems to be going for this gank, a lane gank nonetheless, and Susurration is ready for it. They're actually going to see Susurration on the ward and back away, which is going to force Susurration to check out. Meanwhile, topside, Nicklal's in a fight under the tower. Teditor may have taken a little too much there. Has to ult just for the added protection to avoid an Aatrox going in. Both ults on the top side utilized. Susurration also just going to use the pressure on that bot side to get into that Dragon Pit and start up our first dragon of the game. It is a Chemtech Dragon. Feel around here. Remember that Weaver's Wall ready to go. They can just push off this team. Feels in a position to do so. Actually going to cut off 2, and now that's Waffle and Burger King. Cut from the rest of the team. There is the ultimate from the Neela going in, but the damage is just not there. Gumayushi has to flash away. They do get the kill, but they trade 1 for 1 in that. Dragon is picked up by Mythic, but Idris also going to fall afterwards. Susurration still continuing topside. The Ignite goes, but it's not enough. The death and the experience to level up for Nicklal's, who stays alive. Meanwhile, the fight continues in the mid lane. Mythic win generally across the board, except for that top lane. Yeah, the Ignite just not enough for the kill, and Teditor just so deep in there pays the price, and that's a lot of tempo lost. That gets the Aatrox back and relevant in this game. And that is exactly what Elysium really needed, at least from a top lane perspective. Obviously, this bot lane fight did not go well from them. The Taliyah wall just blocking off so much access that Sejuani had to go all the way around, and the damage already done. But the turnaround onto Gumayushi, who just went in, Neela ulted, and did not really get anything out of it there. Just the one Xerath, so not a lot of healing, not a lot of damage across the board. I ended up with that trade from the beginning there. Mythic do come out with the dragon, though. So I would argue that that would be a win for Mythic. Susurration, these junglers have just been in each other's heads here. Nicklal's going to go in as Teditor is coming around with Greg. Susurration is trying to buy time and force them away. Forces the World Ender out of Nicklal's and the ultimate out of Teditor as well. So again, both top laners trading their ultimates primarily defensively. Look down again, looking at this bot lane, seeing the Neela having the serrated Dirk already finished. I always try to point this out, but a lot of times when you're looking at serrated Dirk items, the power spike is partially when you finish the item, but there's also a heavy power spike when you finish the Dirk, because it is generally a cheaper item than a lot of others, and the extra lethality is so influential, especially early on. It's just dodging everything from this Xerath, and Burger King just does not have an answer for it. Susurration shows up for, again, just protection here. This Sejuani has not been able to make an aggressive move all game. It has been counter ganks, and every time that a move has been made, it has been basically countered out by Greg. Greg has been doing a great job at moving around the map, creating pressure that Susurration has to answer to, and then on top of that, getting the objectives, right? When they already saw the dragon picked up as Burger King, has to run away here. And then now with that Rift Herald crashing, that's a lot of extra money to both Greg and Phil. XH going to get the silence route down, and ultimate used by Greg as Waffle's just gonna get deleted. And Greg gives that Taliyah another kill, as Taliyah's damage is going to start to get kind of crazy. She's going to be able to back here and pick up that Liandry's, which is so crucial against the health stacking that you're likely to see with both a... Oh my god, look at Field just deep in there. The tower doesn't mean anything. Field is just controlling everything right now. Susurration gonna flash forward and now hits the stun. Q will hit from Burger, who now ults as well, and that'll be the shutdown going over to the Xerath. 600 gold. Trying desperately to keep Xerath alive and well. Now TSM Burger King going to be able to back and hopefully be able to match items here. I think the Ludens will be completed. Yes, it will. As well as an extra amp tome. Still obviously a gold lead for Taliyah here, but Burger King at least able to match Mythic for Mythic right now. Idris is gonna continue to push here now. It is that Kraken Slayer rush, which is a change, right? We talked about the nerfs. The nerfs to Kai'Sa were to her AP scaling specifically. So a lot of people have been moving over to that Kraken Slayer. It's just a switch up. Obviously, Kai'Sa's still a good champion. You just have to kind of change what your ideal pickups are for the items. Greg, again, just in this right spot at the right time. Dragon is alive. Greg wanting to go for the gank here. Just trying, we're seeing VXH try to bait this out, but Waffle is not biting. You're going to see that there's a ward now pinging out where Greg is. Susurration gonna say hello to Gumayushi. He'll also just chasing out now as the silence, as Burger King gets the ultimate interrupted. That's a cooldown down just from the Soraka silence. Topside, Tedador still doing what Renekton does best, and that's beating the crap out of whoever is in the top lane. But Niklaw's trading back solidly. Dragon started up a little bit, but there's no commitment just yet. We are going to see Elysium start just whittling this down. An ultimate from the Taliyah to back them off. A nice ultimate from the Gumayushi. That will be 2 down immediately as Burger King's running for his life. A chomp and a smack from the Trundle will confirm that kill. Tedador diving under tower again, and Niklaus may turn this one around. No, the flash Q will finish off Niklaus, and that is a win cleanly across the board. A second dragon, and 3 kills. I think 4 kills. I lost track at some point, but it's a lot of money going over to Mythic alongside a soul win condition. And now Tedador able to just push this top lane down with the plates gone. Tedador can just kind of finish this off. We're going to get our second tower dropped as the mid lane already gone. And the money now just able to be spent by Mythic. You're seeing the collector already finished here by Gumayushi, as well as the Divine Sunderer for this Trundle. You look on the other side here, still waiting on a Mythic from this Sejuani. You're seeing at least some level of parity from most of these other players, but it's not great, right? Trundle with a Divine Sunder is just a heavy power spike for him because it gives him that extra healing. It gives him that extra burst damage on that Q. And Sejuani's still just trying to get this Jack Show completed. Right now, we're going to be seeing Elysium just kind of hold out for the time being. There's not a whole lot for them to look for. All these big ultimate cooldowns back up right now. I think the best option really is just to try and catch somebody out with a Leona ultimate. Use that pretty short cooldown engage opportunity. See if you can fish something around for your team, but they have not had a solidly winning lane to play out of. Top lane, obviously, the only reason that there's kill parity in that lane is the fact that those were dives. The pressure from Tedidur has been incredibly strong, and there just hasn't been a solid response for that. Mid lane, again, just pressure from Taliyah non-stop. Is forced Burger King to call for a lot of help from this Sejuani, who has been doing her job decently well. Not only showing up and making sure that people can at least stay alive, but also farming decently as well. Kalista is really the only lane that has had some level of capability. Niklaus, you are on the wrong side here, buddy. I think they're just going to finish this kill off, push him away. Niklaus still staying alive pretty decently, but the World Ender healing is not enough. Another kill going over to Mythic as they have started to get into dangerous territory and engage now nicely onto the Soraka, who uses the wish, but it's not enough health. Idris will fall. Idris will get the kill. Tedidur now showing up a flash Q. They're going to use the Sejuani ult as well. This is the opportunity as this Renekton is still ridiculously powerful. So I did call that Mythic wrong. That was a Radiant Virtue on the Sejuani. But a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. And with that, the wave is pushing and the Rift Herald will be summoned. A tower down. So despite the fact that they get the Renekton down, after all of that, it is not a win. They lose more map pressure in the process. And that is the fear, right? This Renekton is strong enough to be able to go deep into enemy territory and take someone out with him while your team continues doing things across the opposite side of the map. We've not hit the level where this Kaisa damage starts to get ridiculous. We have not hit the level where the poke from Xerath is enough of a problem that it needs to be worried about. And I'm starting to get concerned if we're ever actually going to hit that point here, because things are getting a little bit dire as we look at our we look at our gold differential here, sitting at about 6k gold difference. That is 2 full items across these players. Yeah, this is just the fear too, right? Like Tedidur still, despite Nicholas hitting multiple sweet spots, still losing out on these trades. There will be a tower picked up here, and that is Objective Bounty Gold, which is a nice addition for Elysium. But they're going to be trading out on the Dragon. This is Soul Point that is going to be picked up by Mythic. And there's no option to fight this, right? Like, you've been so far behind, you don't have an opportunity to try and even go for this. You have to try and get something on the other side of the map, but the wave clear just isn't there. Phil has been ridiculously good at clearing out these waves. Look at this. The Xerath ult, Phil is dodging out pretty solidly. A wish as well to keep Phil alive. The Seraphs is not going to be enough, and now VXH might be in a little bit of trouble, will get immediately bursted down. TPs are coming in as Greg and Gubayushi are now alone under this tower. Renekton cannot follow. Remember, there was no TP, but it is going to be Elysium backing away, it seems. So they poke out just a little bit. They might look for another engage. Waffle's looking at it. Susurration goes in, but the E does not hit from Waffle, so they will have to disengage. And all of that burned. The TP from Nick Lulls just to confirm a kill on Tafeel and VXH. 2 kills is not enough at this point. You've got to continue moving on. We're looking at Baron spawning in just a moment here, and if these backs are completed, there's an opportunity. Greg's actually just going to start it up right away here. Just going to get going on this one. The dash does not work. Teditor does not actually get over the wall here. Burger King's coming around the side, but a nice grab here from the Taliyah again. Gubayushi's going to pick up that kill. They're going to turn onto Burger King, who has no backup right now, and Renekton can just keep on top. There is another bolt of damage from the Taliyah. Waffle is deep in here. They're going to try and fight this. Idris does not have the mana for it, though, and Waffle's going to lose his life all for naught. Idris, the only one left alive just to run away, but the Taliyah will try to confirm another kill. A Q, another couple of stones in the face, and a dead Kaisa and Ace cleanly while taking the Baron. Mythic have just broken this game open. Now they will go back, spend their money. And again, we're looking at 8,000 gold difference here in favor of Mythic. At this point, the end all seems but inevitable. Baron ready to help the push. Blue buff picked up by Field. And this Renekton has been, while, you know, a couple of rough dives, the pressure and the farm difference alone has kept Aatrox from being absurd. The mid lane as well, same kind of thing, minus the deaths in lane. Field's been doing ridiculously good on this Taliyah. It seems like they're going to try and continue it here as they move on to this Aatrox. A nice W to push back. Gubayushi gets that one. There will be a tower picked up. Teditor now forcing off about 3 people. There is a Sejuani ult, a Leona ult. Teditor still continuing to fight and staying alive. Going to turn on to the Xerath. They may not have the damage for this. The Wish as well. Teditor is fighting off 3v1. Nothing's going to stop him except death itself. The Xerath ult as well, trying desperately. The moves, the jukes. Teditor gets it. The Q from the Xerath will be enough, but he bought enough time. They've had 3 people fighting it the entire time, while the rest of Mythic are pushing down the Nexus turrets. Idris is the only one trying to protect the base. And that will be a dead Kaisa. Waffle now going in, but the DPS is gone. Niklaw's using the World Ender, trying to go on. Will get the Soraka. Feel now chasing them, or sorry, running away from them, running from the chase, but the chase will come regardless. A quadra kill going over to Gubayushi as the game is going to be finished. A remarkably clear victory for Mythic. So they will finish off the Nexus and take game number 1 of the night. Powerful, powerful stuff from Mythic, coming out strong and just winning in pretty much every lane. The only lane that I don't think they decisively really won was that bot lane, which is just a Neela and doesn't win a lot of lanes anyway. You survive that, you get into these skirmishy mid-game team fights, and you pop off just like we saw in this game. Mythic doing a great, great job right now. We are hopefully just going to get ourselves into a game 2 pretty quickly here. I'm going to take us to a quick break because I need my voice to take a break, but we will be right back with game number 2 draft here, guys, in just a quick second. And welcome back, everybody. We are getting into our game number 2 draft. Mythic and Elysium, both teams electing to be on the same spot. Well, I shouldn't say both teams electing, but we do have, I believe it is Elysium who is going to be going on to the red side this time. We're going to be seeing fairly similar bans so far. Mythic, obviously, game 1 went great for them. They don't have a lot to worry about, and I don't expect to see a lot of change in bans. Elysium, on the other hand, though, they're going to be taking out that Talia. They did not seem to have a great answer for that, and the Xerath did not work out as intended. Mythic, we're going to see that Rel taken out. We'll not be seeing that tonight. And Elysium, last ban was either Tristana or the Draven. I expect we'll probably still be seeing the Draven ban, but things can always swap around. There's the possibility that you maybe take the Renekton, but nope, Draven still going to be taken off. Now, we do have the Tristana, which that we're going to get the Tristana, apparently, as that's going to be immediately locked in. Was banned away last time. Again, a flex pick here for Mythic. They can send that to the bot lane. They can send it to the mid lane if they want. Elysium now, last time, responded with a Sejuani and a Xerath. I don't think we'll be seeing either of those this time around. Ashe looking to be the lock-in for Elysium, which has been rising in AD carry popularity in regards to just having the ability to stay back, ult, and have pretty solid damage in comparison to what a lot of times Ashes will end up being. So Elysium gonna elect for that one. You have a couple of different options to pair that up with. You can go for engage. You can play with an enchanter. You might even just look to pick up a jungler here to make sure that Mythic doesn't take something away from you. But it is going to be the Alistar, it seems to be, for Elysium. So looking to just get in on a fight and stay in on it. Now, if this Tristana ends up in the bot lane, Mythic do have a pretty solid answer. You can always jump away faster than Ashe can ever slow you. But Elysium, at least seemingly, trying to keep up pressure. Last time they had the Kaisa and the Leona, and they did not seem to get the level of control of that lane they really would have liked. Rakan, the lock-in now for Mythic as the support. This can be a Rakan Xayah pickup. You can get both of those right now. Mythic, do not pick that up now. Has high capability to be banned away. Elysium would have to look for a mid laner that can handle going up against a Tristana in that sense then. As Mythic, they're going to lock in their jungler here. They're going to take the Rakan. They're going to pass on the Xayah for now and take the Trundle, which did work out great for them. Greg, last game, complete control of the map. It was always Susurration trying to respond to this Trundle as opposed to the other way around. Greg just having really, really solid awareness across the board. Elysium definitely changing things up this time around as they are going to be picking up the Lilia as their jungler. No more engaging for Susurration. We're going to be seeing some dancing, some prancing, and a little bit of sleeping. Elysium also looking to take this Xayah off the board. Do not want to give the opportunity for a Xayah Rakan lane into this Ashe. Xayah also just very solid into Ashe purely off ultimates. You always have that opportunity to just dodge away from the Ashe, assuming your cooldowns line up. It becomes very hard to actually make it engage on. Mythic, last time around, took out Thresh and Jax. I think the Thresh was more of a response to the Kaisa, so may not have to worry about that one as much this time. Obviously, also just supports being picked up if I used my eyeballs in the slightest. Jax still could be on the menu, though. So we are going to see Renekton banned, which is surprising. I'm very surprised by that actually, because Mythic can just run it back. You've obviously taken out just you've taken so much pressure with that Renekton. I'm very surprised actually to see Mythic take that away from themselves, essentially. So the Gwen will be banned by Elysium. They're trying to take away some of that top lane pressure here. And I would assume it's probably going to be the Aatrox run back. The Jace obviously still banned. As Mythic are going to close out by taking away the Sylas. Again, a pick that would not have been bad for them to take specifically. You've got really good ultimates to take. Ashe ult is always great, has amazing AP scaling. Alistar ultimate is crazy good, especially when you're running something like the Tristana. Just because you have such long range, you just want to create more frontline. And that Alistar is always great. Malphite will be picked up as just a blind, safe pick in the top lane. And that means Mythic get the response here for their top lane solo pick. Mid lane will be the counter pick for Elysium. They've got to make the most of it here. They still don't know for sure where this Tristana is going, and it seems like they really wanted to wait that one out. Swain is the hover right now for Mythic. Now, Swain, a lot of people know him as a support, as he has been for a while. However, he has been seeing more play in the mid lane, and now, specifically in the last couple of patches, he has been a very prominent bot lane pick as well. He just trades better, scales up better, and most importantly, is able to stay alive even without those levels as long as he has the level 6. As we are going to see Swain locked in. Tahm Kench is the pickup here, and I would assume that is a top lane Tahm Kench. Mythic don't know for sure where things are going here. Or sorry, not Mythic, Elysium, rather. Do not know exactly where things are going. The Swain and Tristana can go either way. This is going to really make the mid lane pick a tough pickup. Right now, hovering a Yasuo, which is great alongside their team composition. You have a Malphite, you have an Alistar. There's a lot to work with there. That is a lot of physical damage here. Your only real magic damage that you're going to be getting is through that Lilia. Yasuo is going to be our lock in here. We'll get underway in our champ select here. Again, I'm just going to start going down our lanes. What I would assume would be our lanes. I'm going to make the assumption that this is a Swain in the bot lane. I'm going to make that call. I will completely accept blame if it is not correct. But I'm going to go with my gut and say the Swain is going to be going into the bot lane. But we will look, obviously, top lane. Tahm Kench versus Malphite. That is not actually a great time for Malphite. This is... Malphite... I say this as somebody who has played Malphite a decent bit. Malphite likes two different kinds of lanes. Either just straight up beefy tank lanes that don't do damage, where you can just max W and go for the grasp. Especially if that tank is doing mainly physical damage. Ornn does a lot of physical damage. Sion is almost entirely physical damage outside the shield. Makes a lot of sense for Malphite to want to just kind of get up there and just trade grass procs all day, every day. The other that Malphite likes is the squishies, because you can go Comet and you can survive and you could be totally fine just poking out with the Q on Comet and Mana Flow cooldown. This is neither one of those. You have Tahm Kench, who does a solid amount of damage, especially into other tanks, and he doesn't take damage at all. This is not a fun time. You're not going to have a fun time playing Malphite, but your goal is not to have a fun time. Your goal is just to survive. You are an R button for the rest of your team, specifically for this Yasuo here. Speaking of, we will move to our mid lane as well. And again, I'm going to make the assumption it is a Tristana versus the Yasuo. Not horrible for Yasuo. The wind wall will do a little bit of work. However, Tristana can just rocket jump in. So that is the big worry here for Yasuo. On top of the fact that Tristana's wave clear can somewhat keep up. It is a give and take of how much damage is Yasuo taking. And is it going to put him in threat for Tristana to just be able to jump in? Obviously, our jungler is here. We have seen the Trundle. We have seen what Trundle is capable of doing. I expect a lot of similar things here from Greg on this Trundle. And Lilia on the other side. Not a terrible early game jungler. This is a jungler that you're going to want to farm on for a bit, and that is kind of my big worry here for Elysium Dawn's composition as a whole. They don't have a lane that I look at and say, that wins. You could maybe say that with Ashe, Alistar, but it's not guaranteed. You could maybe say that with Yasuo and Tristana, but it's not guaranteed. Whereas Mythic do have that. They have the top side to play around. Trundle will always know that if he is up on that top side of the map, there's a strong capability that he can just play aggressive, do whatever he wants. And Tahm Kench will have some level of capability to follow up. And Lilia doesn't have that same help. Especially pre-6. Malphite is not going to provide a whole lot if somebody invades on her. So Trundle has a lot of flexibility in this early game. And Lilia just really wants to try and clear camps as much as possible. And then look at our bot lane here as well. The Ashe Alistar versus the... So we are going to see it is that Swain locked into that bot side with the Rakan. It is a game of poke to a degree. And both these supports, they are supports with engage and heals, which is not super, super common. Rakan does obviously need to hit the Q in order to get some level of heal. Alistar will just heal as the lane does go on. But the big worry here is that while Swain does not have a huge amount of damage, neither does Ashe. So bot lane, you have people who aren't going to die super, super easy. And you have not a whole lot of damage to try and do that. Like if this was a Lucian with an Alistar, yeah, you have capability to just go in on Swain. And I know Lucian is not like in the greatest of spots currently, but I'm just purely saying this also off of a playstyle thing. You can trade Lucian for whatever aggressive AD carry you want. You go with the Neela, whatever. But an Ashe is not going to be able to take down a Swain unless there's enough poke that is hit. Unless those volleys have done enough, which has been nerfed over and over again. And I don't think it's going to work out. If anything, I'd expect the shotgun fingers, while farming, to be a little bit more of a threat to this Ashe Alistar than anything else. But we were going to have to see here, because we are going to take a quick break. Getting into our second game of the night, we'll see if Mythic can take out a clean 2-0 against Elysium Dawn, or if we're going to be going to a game 3, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back just after this. And welcome back, everybody. We're into game number 2 of the night. Teams, same sides. Mythic on the blue, Elysium on the red. You're going to see teams again fan out pretty solidly.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
And I am just very interested in what the game plan is here for Elysium in this early game. Because, like we said, the composition as a whole makes sense. You have knockups upon knockups for this Yasuo to get in, which is great. You just don't have a lane that does horribly well against the lane opponent. And we saw in game number 1 that Mythic have the player skill to be able to win out on these lanes that are supposed to win, or even just have capability to win. Right? There is a way that you kill Ashe as the Swain Rakan. There is enough damage there. Whereas I need to see it to believe it from the other side around. There is a way Tom Kench just really beats up on this Malphite, and I don't think there is a world in which that goes the other way. Tristana can jump in on Yasuo, has answers to the things Yasuo has as defensive capabilities. We will have to see as things get underway. Both junglers starting again on that red side. Nice grab there from Gumayushi, who just immediately just... That's 14 extra health right there. Level 2s are going to hit for both bot laners. Now Idris and Waffle at least have a way of combating things here. There's the engage. A grab is going to hit from that Swain. Now Idris trying to run down on Gumayushi. It is an even trade across the board so far. We also did see Idris go for the longsword 3 pots here, knowing that there is the possibility of a lot of trading, a lot of poke back and forth. You want to be able to stay healthy enough to avoid an engage. It's already becoming pretty huge here. There's both of these carries in the bot side using their first pot. Seems like full clears for both junglers here as they will try to get that level 4 and make their way over to this Scuttle Crab. Crab does miss. Idris now gonna get hit by the knock-up. Waffle will just punt him away. They're going in here, and Greg has shown up again. Took the 5 camp and went for the gank. And Nichols, there's no way out here. Just gonna get walked down for the first blood. As Greg gets an easy one here. The full clear over for Susurration. We'll get the Scuttle Crab, but it's at the cost of a top lane death. TP will be used as Waffle gets really angry and smashes the ground a little bit. No doubt upset about what happened in top. Lilia wrapping around here. Susurration could actually make an early gank happen. Will be spotted out now, and they're just going to go directly in onto Susurration, who's just going to try and buy time. A great grab from Gumayushi to stop the engage opportunity. And Waffle could not get in for the flash WQ. Gumayushi has just been hitting these amazing grabs with that arcane arm of the Swain. Do you see a little bit of hovering on this bottom side from Burger King? A little bit of roaming here from Waffle as well, as Idris is going to go for a back. They'll maybe try and see if they can get some level of a dive off on this Tristana. They're preparing for it. Trundle is going to sniff this out, though. Susurration in the middle of doing the Raptors and is already half health, down to a quarter now. And there is Field jumping over. Will get headbutted away. Susurration still running away. Greg has just chased too far, and you got baited by the Lilia speed. Susurration and Burger King help get a first kill over to Elysium here, a much needed one. And now this Yasuo has a win condition, right? Like, you have the ability to play around this Yasuo. Great stuff there and great responses. Waffle following through with Susurration and making sure that Phil was not able to confirm a kill onto the Lilia, helping the Yasuo get that first 300 gold down. So top lane, pretty much, I think, what most people would have expected. Now Phil's actually going to go in. Burger King is very low health. Engage on the bot side too, as Gumayushi is very low, has not backed. The stun from the cow will be enough. BXH will try to walk back and succeed in doing so. Meanwhile, Greg into this Lilia's jungle here does not have a lot here, as there will be Burger King actually not able to get in on that fight, and Greg helps get Phil a first kill here. Tristana very, very happy with that extra little bit of change here to match this Yasuo. Will back first and TP into this lane. Burger King most likely going to be doing the same here. And the follow-ups on these junglers has been incredibly great to watch, right? We've seen Waffle show up and help out with the kill onto the Trundle. But we also saw as well, Phil following up as Greg was deep in enemy territory and making sure that Greg did not go 0-2. If that was an 0-2 Trundle, this is an incredibly different game. Phil not only getting the Trundle out, but getting the kill as well. Come back with the Noon Quiver. These Swain abilities are just hitting like mad. How many stacks is this Swain at already? 8 stacks at this point in the game is really solid. I'm going to take a look. That is 96 extra health, where Swain generally does not have that at this point in the game. That can be very, very important. Burger King, again, going to trade a little bit here. Seeing Trundle. Meanwhile, as the wave starts to push in favor of Elysium, we're going to see the dragon started up by Susurration. Nicolas 2 levels down now on this Malphite. Again, fairly expected, but still not a fun time. Still scary, and still means that this Tom Kench can really be a problem as we get further in. They're also just going to go in right now. A little bit of grab. Use the ultimate, actually, and I don't think you're going to get a whole lot out of this. There is the unstoppable force. Nicolas will survive. But it is, a team fight ultimate down nonetheless. See a little bit of grouping on this bot lane as Gumayushi is going to try and clear this wave out fast, and Burger King is just going to see the wave is gone and back away. No real capability to help out on that one. Yeah, and I'm looking at this, and the more that this top lane goes in the direction that it currently is, the more that I am concerned, right? Like, Ashe Yasuo does not seem like enough. There is enough armor items in the game that Tom Kench can essentially just be unkillable. And there's not a lot that the Malphite is going to have in order to answer that. I'm very curious how these team fights are going to start to play out once we start seeing them fully erupt. But as of right now, we're still mostly just seeing the skirmishes. Teleports will unlock in just about 2 minutes. important to note here too, we are seeing this Trundle once again getting pretty close to that Divine Sunder, which is just a huge item power spike there for Trundle. If there is a high point for Trundle, I would argue it is probably when that Divine Sunder is finished. It just gives you so much power, both in healing yourself and in damage. A little bit of roam from the Alistar, which is going to open up an opportunity here for Gubayushi. Idris is just in deep trouble and will not survive that one. Susurration shows up, but a little bit too late. Tedador just fighting under the tower, will flash away, and there is no extra CC to stop the dive. Wow, that is so sad if you're Burger King. I understand entirely every single decision made from Elysium, but again, there's just not an answer for Tahm Kench. With all that pressure on the top side, you're going to see Mythic start to pressure on the bot. Say Sleep will hit an Ash Arrow as well, but the Swain is just allowed to heal up through with that ultimate. There's not enough damage to take him down just yet. Will eventually fall as Nicholas is TP'd in. Susurration now going to go down as Greg has ulted and is deep in enemy territory. A double kill actually going over. A nice response. They do lose Susurration in the process though. Idris and Waffle now trying to get this tower plate. They're considering a dive. Burger King is around. There is no Yasuo ultimate. They don't want to go for this just yet. They're looking at Phil, who's just going to jump away. The opportunity to go on to the Rakan is there. There's the Yasuo ultimate just off cooldown. They're immediately going on. Burger King is actually really in trouble here. Tower damage is so incredibly strong, and the flash auto ult to take the kill, a double kill for Phil. Now Burger King having to flash away from the fight. That is a botched dive that Mythic takes advantage of. A really, really great turnaround from Mythic there. And the time wasted there waiting for that Yasuo comes back to bite them incredibly hard. Another engage here on a Gubayushi. Does not hit the grab, but I don't think they need it because the pillar is there, and Burger King is going to fall for the first time this match. Almost said again. And things are just starting to get very similar to game number 1. Assault is actually going to hit here. Waffle just waiting to get a range. Will hit that one. Now Feels just going to turn around, but I don't think the damage is enough. Idris gets a nice shutdown there. 350 extra gold. 650 overall. Move over to the Dragon Pit, which has just spawned. If there is a positive here for Elysium, it is their dragon control this game. They have gotten number 1. They're getting number 2 on spawn, it seems. Burger King may walk into a Rakan. Greg over on the side looking to get in on this, but does not have a flash. So that will just be a dragon gone. A win condition opened here for Elysium. They can get those 4 dragons that can be incredibly influential here. It's going to be a Hex Tech Soul opening up those portals. A little bit of big boys slapping the hell out of each other on the top side. Nicholas again still down about a level and a half here. And with that Heartsteel finished as well, these trades just go less and less in favor of this Malphite, right? Like you're getting more and more HP, which is just giving more and more damage to Tahm Kench. Now Tedador maybe getting engaged on. Will wait for the portal to end as they're just going to go all in on that. Nicholas taking the kill might not have been ideal. You want to give that one over to the Yasuo because you really, really would love to have more items completed there. Feel on the bot side now, just going on to Idris. This is what Tristana has been doing. A nice stun from the Ash Arrow, but it's not going to be enough. The jumps, the resets feel 4-1 on this Tristana and just completely controlling this game. Rift Herald taken for Elysium. The objective control still strong. But I don't know if objective control is going to be enough here. You need money and you need to find it fast. Ideally, you really would love to get this Ashe out of the side lane. You're never going to have her be competitive against this Tristana with the extra levels here. Tristana is usually known for having a weak mid game purely off of the fact that she does not have enough levels to make her passive super useful. She doesn't have the items to make herself really strong. When you give her kills and you give her a mid lane to soak solo experience off of, she gets to be extremely powerful. Waffle maybe caught out here. A pillar will confirm the vision of Empire, but they're just going to turn to go on to feel with the Yasuo ultimate. Burger King now just turning back over to Greg, who is just so tanky, and the damage just isn't there. It is Feel coming back in for the double. And just 6-1 on Tristana now. On what I would consider one of the ridiculously powerful champions of this patch. I feel also not only that, but just getting so much solo farm and able to push this tower down. This tower's going to die. Tristana just capable of pushing these towers down so incredibly fast. Alongside a Demolish, which is the standard rune on a solo lane Tristana. You just, even if you don't get kills, you're getting towers down. A nice engage from VXH, who does go in onto Waffle. There is no unbreakable will, so they are going to be able to get him low, but they can't finish the cowl off just yet. Burger King coming around, dashing, dipping, and diving. Cannot get into the fight. Last Breath is ready for this Yasuo to go in at a moment's notice, but they're really waiting to get this Malphite into the fight. And that is kind of another aspect of this game that we have not seen Elysium find an answer for. This top lane is in dire needs of a change up. You can look at the farm differential. It is almost twice as much farm on this Tahm Kench. And if we take a look at our gold difference, I wish I could bring it up on the stream there, but it is 6,900 gold on this Tahm Kench to 5,200. That is 15, no, that is 1,800 as I try to do math. Never do math on a stream, never works out. But 1,800 gold, that is 2/3 of an item in terms of gold differential. Now with the tower down, it's a nice 2K. So is Tahm Kench going to be able to back here and just become incredibly strong as I expect? Yeah, Sunfire looking like the purchase. What do you do now? This Tahm Kench not only has a ridiculously high amount of health, but also has a lot of armor picked up with the steel, with the plated steel caps, as I still want to call these Ninja Tabby for some reason. Steel caps existing alongside this extra chain vest. There's a lot of tanky stats on this Tahm Kench. Dragon has spawned. Remember, Elysium have the first two. They want to keep that going because things start to get very hairy if they lose their one win con. They're going to start it up right now, but this is the first 5v5 of the match now. Niklaus has that unstoppable force to look for a fight. Last Breath is ready as well. We're waiting on the Malphite ult. If there's enough grouping on these carries, Niklaus can go in. There's a nice grab the sleep here as the Zhonya's also hits. No ult just yet. Knock up hits, and then Last Breath will go on, but it doesn't hit Gumayushi. Burger King tried to turn on to Greg. He just flashes over the wall, stays alive. Shutdown goes to Nick Lulz, but the damage is not hitting on anybody else, and the health bars aren't there for Elysium. They're trying to back away. Jump, flash reveal. Again, the auto into the ultimate to confirm a kill. Susurration goes down as well. Double kill again to Feel. And they are going to wipe out the rest of Elysium. Only Burger King stays alive, and the dream for the Dragon Soul is starting to die. It'll be the first dragon over to Mythic, but I don't think they care as much about trying to stack them. They just want to make sure that Elysium cannot get those dragons fully stacked for themselves. We're going to still see feel just completely unstoppable in this game. And I'm trying to look at this from Elysium's point of view and see what options they really have. We're seeing a Rod of Ages almost completed for this Lilia. Now, Rod of Ages Lilia has been known to come around every bit. The real opportunity, I think, to pick that up is if you're really snowballing, because it just gives you a lot of stats, and obviously the extra level up is great the earlier you hit it. Without that, we're starting to see why Lilia is kind of just not doing great. You don't have that burn for the Tahm Kench. I think in this game, that burn would have been very, very useful. You do not have a lot of percent health damage elsewhere. Susurration, just going to make sure Tedidur does not continue onwards. But I don't know what the answer is without a Leandries on this Lilia. Tahm Kench is just gonna stay alive, for lack of a better term. And we saw last fight, we there was no answer. They got one kill onto Greg, and then nothing else, no other responses, because the health. By the time they turned on everybody else, the health bars just were not there. Where its editor could just go under tower, just gobbles up this big rock, turns around the unstoppable force, and it still might not be enough. The dash to get behind, and Malphite's now caught between a rock and a hard place. That's where he would like his opponents to be. As we see Susurration just going to get run down, caught out, trying to check this Baron. And there's nothing. There's nothing for Elysium to do across this map. Just Tedidur's going to TP in, because why not? You forced this Malphite back, you forced someone to respond, and you've taken out the jungler. This Baron is an easy pickup for Mythic. I don't think they even needed the TP from this Tahm Kench. And again, the gold differential has opened up at about 20 minutes. It is, again, about 8,000 gold difference across the board at 20 minutes. It is what we saw from Mythic in Game 1. It is what we saw now and from Mythic in Game 2. And Elysium just did not have an answer last time. They did not have an idea of what to do. Burger King going to take this tower down, but look at how much damage this Tahm Kench can do. The Ashe ult for the stun, and Burger King still running away, backs into the bush, and now Idris is the target. But Tedidur is getting kited out pretty decently, but it doesn't matter when the rest of the team's going to come in. Knock up from BXH as Tedidur gets a kill for himself here. Waffle going to slowly walk away as Beal gets another one, 9-1. And none other than Gubayushi pushing that mid lane just doesn't even matter. You don't have to have an answer. Gubayushi now has the ultimate there. Demonic Ascension going as Burger King's just going to use it to try and get over, but there's no health. Gubayushi just kills the Yasuo for free, and now the inhibitor will fall, and they're going to push to end this game. Another tower on the other side as another inhibitor will fall, and look at these Baron minions getting into the base. They're just going to continue on. Nexus tower number 1 will look to fall. They do not have the Yasuo, so there's this. All this engage doesn't mean anything when you don't have the main carry that you need. Nexus tower number 1 falls as the Baron will continue on here. Nikolaw's taken down to about half health. The quarter just gone immediately. A double knockup from this Tahm Kench of all things. Jumps forward from the Tristana, will confirm another double kill. Susurration walking away from the Nexus, but it doesn't matter. You could just finish it off. Burger King is around trying to do what he can, but he has to flash back to the towers that are still up, and he still will not survive. As Greg's just going to stop Susurration from watching the Nexus even fall. Mythic take game number 2, a clean 2-0, and there was never any doubt. Clean stuff from Mythic all throughout the night. And man, if there is a team to put your money on for playoffs as we start getting close to them, Mythic does seem to be the play. I am very impressed. They won the lanes they were supposed to. They won lanes that they didn't even really like super need to win, and they had such good macro. Huge props to Greg for being able to be exactly where is needed. Game one, objective control, gank control, all over the place from this Trundle. Game two, objective control got a little wonky, but it wasn't needed. You already had Tom Kench doing ridiculous things to this Malphite in the top side. You also just still had a Tristana that showed up everywhere at the right moment. Feel looked great on the Talia game number one. The Tristana was absurd, and we saw why it was banned in game number one and why it was the first pick when it was made available in game number two. I don't think any team that is looking at this Mythic team cannot ban Tristana going forward, especially when you have the capability to just pick some kind of mage in the bot lane. Swain was the pick this time. You don't even need to go for the Swain. The Swain wasn't really super relevant. It was just the fact that you had a level of magic damage and you didn't die. Feel did everything from that point onwards. And you can swap that out for a Seraphine, realistically. You can swap that out for a Ziggs. You can swap that out for whatever, and you're still going to have that capability. So Mythic looking really great. That is going to be it for us. And by us, I mean me, because I am the only person here. And please send your regards. Thank you for watching. It is a lot to try and run this in solo cast, but I did my best, and I hope you all enjoyed. But with that, we're gonna send it off. I don't know what I do know. We will be back tomorrow. I will have a co-caster next time, and we will make sure that things go a little bit smoother. But that is going to be it for me. Have a wonderful night, everybody.